Good evening, everyone. My name is Brennan Isabel. I'm Vice President of Corporate Development with Numis Capital Corp, a exempt market dealer based in Halifax, Canada. I'm joined today with Ocumetics CEO Dean Burns, and today we'll be speaking about the Ocumetics Accommodative Intraocular Lens, one of the most exciting medical devices in the pipeline, in my opinion, today, and some of the announcements that they've made in recent days and weeks leading up to their first in human trial. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the mic over to Dean. Dean, take it away.
Hey, Brennan, thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to hear about the Ocumetics technology. As we go through the presentation, I'm going to talk a little fast because I want to make sure that we have enough time at the back end of the presentation for questions. Accommodative lenses are what we would refer to as the Holy Grail. It's the area of ophthalmology that has gotten the least amount of attention, but here lately it's getting an awful lot of attention because there's some really good science that's coming out of this area. When I talk about Ocumetics, Ocumetics is a very complex accommodative IOL. It really has three components that, when put together, are really what we call, a accommodative complex. As always, we have to give our disclaimers. Many of the comments that I'll be making tonight don't necessarily reflect exactly where the company is, although there is alignment. But I'll take liberties in areas of finance and things of that nature, because I think it's really important for anyone who is a part of a webinar or even a one-on-one with me, for them to understand exactly where we're going as an organization and how I'm leading the group. I had created this slide probably a month ago, and or longer, and it was really to illustrate that we are on the precipice of putting this technology in an eye. In fact, we just released a couple press releases that uh, we fixated on a location, which is going to be in Mexico. Mexico City is where we'll have our first in human with this technology. And the date of that is actually the 26th of this month. So we're really 23 days out of putting this technology in an eye. We believe that once it goes into the first in human phase, the evaluation of the company will change, our stock will change, and there will be a lot of interest for those that are interested in getting involved in this, not only with the clinical side, but also with the financial side. If you have any interest of getting involved, we do trade. We're a publicly held company. We do trade on the Canadian TSX Venture Exchange, as well as in the US on the over-the-counter markets. So what are we trying to do at Ocumetics? Well, we know the problem is restoration of sight as we age. And we know that as patients get older, their vision starts to deteriorate. So they go into a presby condition, and then eventually, if they don't take care of it, they eventually develop a cataract. And so we all, I think, have an agreement that presbyopia starts around that 45-year age range. And here again, it's the loss of accommodation. And we know that. And we also know that the flexibility of the lens and the cloudy nature does create a cataract somewhere around that 65-year age range. If you look at the evolution of eye care, we've had some pretty significant things happen. We started off with spectacles. Then we had a really nice variety of contact lenses. In fact, we still have a nice variety of contact lens options that are out there. Laser vision surgery has certainly taken off with either directly on the surface where we were with PRK versus inside the bed now with where we are with Smile. So laser vision correction technology continues to just evolve. And now we're in the eye, and we need to do something more than just either a monofocal technology or maybe a 2 or 3 piece type technology for cataract surgery. So either a monofocal, a bifocal, or a trifocal fixed focus technology is where we have been. And now we're looking at lenses that take advantage of the natural biomechanics of the eye called accommodation. So we've been managing presbyopia and certainly cataract procedures with fixed focus type lenses. This just happens to be a Panoptix lens from Alcon, and it utilizes the apodice technology to actually create the different versions of vision, so distance, intermediate, and near. With that type of lens, you do get a lot of side effects. So I have panoptics in my eye, along with another challenge I have with my left eye. But I have had to live through halos and glare and starburst, and it has not been a fun process. But that was the best lens that was available when I had my surgery. When you look at accommodative technologies, the very first technology that came out was the crystalline lens back in '02, and it was a one diopter accommodative type technology. The challenge with that is it actually didn't work the way it was advertised. The good thing was the manufacturers of that lens created a whole new category for us to build technology around, which is the accommodative IOL technology. The Ocumetics lens is a little bit different, and that's pictured here on the right-hand side. It's basically a 3 piece complex that's put together to mimic the way the eye naturally works. And on the bench, it's been tested up to 12 diopters worth of accommodation. And I'll show you exactly how that works. But we consider this technology a dynamic, adaptive type technology. Here's an animation that just kind of shows the different components of the lens that goes in. So there's the IOL complex. When we first developed this lens, it was a 2 piece surgery. Now it's all just 1 piece when it's introduced into the eye. I'll let that play for just another second or two. All right. The market size for these premium type lenses is pretty significant for us. So the overall intraocular lens market is a $4.5 billion market. But if you start breaking it down to its individual components, specifically on the premium side, for the refractive area, it's a $1.7 billion opportunity. And for cataracts, it's a $1.2 billion opportunity. Ocumetics has a strategy to go into that cataract area, and that's where we really believe that we will be a larger player, and we believe that we will be one of the companies that will have a large share in that market. And I do have a competitive slide to show you who all the players are. If you just look at the premium category, and we've put some models together to just show investors what the revenue potential would be. If we just stay in the cataract area, the revenue potential is about $500 million with this technology. But if we creep down and actually start looking at clear lensectomies and that refractive category, it could be a $1.2 billion revenue opportunity at a 40% share for Ocumetics. So it's a significant opportunity, which is why we're investing time, money, and energy in this particular area to come up with a solution that makes sense. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, um, my name is Dean Burns once again. I am a formal senior director with Alcon Vision. When I was at Alcon, I spent 28 years with Alcon and I retired in 2020. I manage one of the largest business units in the surgical area. It's about a $750 million business unit, and it covered devices, instrumentation, disposables, IOLs, and some pharmaceutical type products. Over my 28-year career, I have 15 FDA approvals. And when you look at the market value of those approvals, it's somewhere north of $6 billion worth of commercial activity. And with that, I also have 15 product launches in all four categories that Alcon participated in. So that was pharmaceutical, refractive, cataract, and also on the retina side. So I'm pretty well versed and technology that goes into the eye. I was retired when I received the call from Ocumetics to come and be a part of the team and then ultimately lead them through this process. So I've got a lot of experience, particularly with working with the FDA and the regulatory community and getting these products from a drawing over the line into the commercialization. So we don't have to go through any kind of clinical views of the eye. You guys see that each and every time, and you know it better than I do. But if we look at the eye and we look at it from the perspective of the Ocumetics lens, we go in the same space as the crystalline lens. And the way we are designed, our lens is designed is when the two optics come together. So there's the anterior optic and the posterior optic. I hope you can see my pointer. When those two come together, that's what gives us our distance profile. When the eye relaxes and the lenses separate, that's where we get our accommodative profile and anything in between that as well. Well, what does that do? Well, we know that the distance is going to be nice and clear, and it's going to allow us to see into infinity. And when we're using our mid-range vision or even looking at our cell phones up close, we know that vision is going to be really clear as well. And it's because we're using the normal biomechanics of the eye, working with the ciliary process to actually do that. So this is a CAD drawing of what that lens looks like. And as you can see, the two come together. So this is the black annulus that went in. It's just gray on this CAD drawing. This green optic is the anterior optic. And this gold optic right here is the posterior optic. And we can make a variety of lenses, and they are shape changing. In other words, it does give us the ability to naturally see distance, intermediate, and near. So what is this technology able to do? Well, it's a one-piece air fluid shape changing IOL. The design of the IOL on the bench, we were able to get it to 12 diopters worth of accommodation, but we know we can't put 12 diopters of accommodation in the eye. So we changed the shape factor to get it down closer to what we believe the eye will tolerate, which is 3¼ diopters worth of accommodation. We as an organization talk about accommodation and disaccommodation. And the reason we do that is we believe it's a safety issue. You do not want to be in a disaccommodative state, going to an accommodative state, and going back to disaccommodation and have that process lag. And so we have looked at how fast our lens can do that, and we're around a second to do that. And we're trying to get it even faster, but that's actually pretty good. And that way, if you're driving and you change your vision, uh, that whole profile changes very nicely and very quickly. And we do that because we believe it's a safety issue to make sure that the lens does disaccommodate very fast. The final thing is when you look at the substrates in between the two lenses, our lens is a silicone lens, but it does not use silicone oil to keep the two lenses separated. We believe in our belief system, and we have some data to actually show that when you introduce silicone oil into the eye, it can be very toxic. The plastics community was very deliberate with pulling breast implants that had silicone oil in it pretty much off the market and going with saline because it can be somewhat toxic to the body. And we didn't introduce silicone oil into our technology. We have a lens that goes into the eye as air. And once it starts working with the ciliary process, it brings in aqueous, and that's how we move our lens back and forth using aqueous. As I mentioned, we're 23 days away from going into first in human, and we are super excited about the activity. We're waiting to hear back from the regulatory authorities on that approval, but all of our paperwork, our protocols, and everything have been turned in. We're super excited because we're getting ready to also ship all the materials into Mexico to do the surgery. And then once we get our approval and we do our surgery, we'll follow the natural process for doing clinical trials. Initially, we were going to do a 12 subject clinical trial, but we decided that we would expand that. And so we're going to do more subjects in there. And one of the big reasons that's driving that is we want to be in a position to put this lens in both eyes so that we can take advantage of understanding what binocular summation is going to look like with this technology ahead of going into a multi-clinical trial with the FDA sometime next year. To really get the best possible optical quality out of this type of technology, we purchased a device that we use on the manufacturing side called the Iola Lens Analyzer. And it's something that's in line with the manufacturing process. And basically what it does is it shows us the optical quality of the eye or the lens that we're manufacturing. And it also helps us with the MTF. And there's some ISO standards that we have to follow in order to get this lens approved to go into a clinical trial. And so we need to hit the refraction, and we also need to hit the modulation transfer function. Um, we do that through a high quality group of molds that we use to mold our lenses. These happen to come out of Asia. And with everything that's happening with tariffs and stuff, we're acutely sensitive to what the world is doing. But we have a good set of molds that we use in our manufacturing. We manufacture in 2 locations. Our lens is designed, and we do small batch manufacturing in Monterrey, Mexico. But our large batch manufacturing comes out of Erlangen, Germany. So, we have a global group. These are 2 groups that work together. I decided to go with 2 groups so that we didn't have the ability uh, to have any kind of outage. I've got 2 groups, and they both are capable of manufacturing this technology. So the Iola is the thing that gives us lens clarity. We also work with a Swiss-based company to come up with the new IOL injector system. Um, and so this is the actual lens being put into the injector cartridge. And is very similar to how we do it today with the different injectors. So Monarch, if you are an Alcon user, um, all these cartridges load up about the same way with the Taco. And so that's our new injector system. And then we do another test because we're working with the biomechanics of the eye. We want to make sure that the muscles can actually compress our lens the right way. So we actually put our lens through another test, which is called the compression force test. And basically we put a weight on top of the lens itself. And they basically allow the weight to gently push the lens together. And on the right, we record what the millinewtons of force is that's exerted on the lens. Anything over 40 millinewtons of force is a failure. And with our technology, we've gotten it down to 20 millinewtons. So we're well within the range that we need to be in. The last thing is we do have another test that we take the lens through that basically looks at how many diopters of accommodation can we get out of the technology. And that's what this device does. And we don't have to go through that. So where are we with hitting our milestones and utilization of the funding that we have gotten? So we got past our proof of concept as well as our bio compatibility study earlier in 23. We've started the first in human process, and we had to do some pre-manufacturing as part of the ISO standards. And so 25, we are raising some additional dollars so that we can complete our first in human and then do all the pre-submissions for the multi-center clinical trial. That's what MCCT stands for, multi-center clinical trial. And then we'll go into, once we submit the clinical reports to FDA along with our ID submission, we'll go into the multi-center clinical trial in 26. And it's our hope that that process will go very smoothly so that when we are in 27, 28, we can start looking at early commercialization, CE marking of this technology around the world while we're finishing up our FDA study, which we are projecting in 29 or 30. What does the competition look like? Well, there are 14 companies that are actually in the space. Of the 14 companies, 6 are either going in and out of some kind of human study. So some of the companies have already gone through their first in human, they're analyzing their data and positioning themselves to go into a multi-center clinical trial. Others are just now going into that process. Ocumetics is just now going into that process. And I tell my team all the time, I'm not trying to be first to market with this. So there's no first mover's advantage of having your lens out there first. I'm trying to be the best. And so I want my team to do it right. And I want them to do the R&D on the bench and not in patients. So where are we? Well, we are one of 6 that is ready to go into or come out of a human trial. 5 of the companies here, so Ocumetics is the exclusion, all use silicone oil. And they have a different set of things that they'll have to manage with silicone oil as part of their substrate. We don't have to worry about that because we're using the aqueous fluid in the eye. So we're non-silicone oil. We're mimicking the natural biokinetics of the eye. This technology, as I mentioned, has been designed to go up to 12 diopters, and it has been designed to disaccommodate very fast. When we come out of our first in human trial, we may want to adjust the accommodative amplitude, and that's an adjustment we do when we manufacture and put the lens together. Um, but we may find that we need to go higher. And so when we get to that point, we will make those adjustments. One other thing that's kind of interesting is if you start looking at the IOL acquisitions, three of the seven companies have asked Ocumetics to come and talk to them once we get in and out of our first in human trial, which I thought was pretty exciting. In fact, there are two others that have said they're going to be looking at us, and I don't know what that means, partnership, what have you, but it's pretty exciting to have the strategics looking at this technology and trying to figure out, is this something that actually will fit into their product portfolio, or is this something that they'll be competing against? So PowerVision, which is the first one on here, that is a Alcon lens. So Alcon's a big player in the eye space, and they are a big player in this particular category. And I'm happy to see that because I'm a Alcon retiree. I still own their stock, so it's pretty good to see that they're still moving advancements forward. I get a lot of questions on whether or not we have good IP on our lenses, and we do. We have 49 patents. Of the 49, 3 are provisional patents, and it's our belief after we get out of the first phase of FDA that we'll have a potential around the world to actually CE mark this technology ahead of FDA approval. Some of the circles represent some of the more friendlier regulatory units around the world in places that we can actually look for early commercialization. Here's our market cap based on where our stock is. We're about 49 million market cap, but this is our investment table. Okay, and I was talking really fast because I wanted to make sure we at least had 30, 40 minutes for questions. So I'm going to stop talking, Brennan, and see if we can take some questions.
Okay, thanks, Dean. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to John Philpott, who has kindly been assisting with the logistics of this webinar through Can-Am Physician Recruiters. So thank you very much, John. I see you're on with us here, and we can move into a few questions. So we do have a question to start things off, Dean. When do you expect to see results from the clinical study?
So the endpoints that are part of the study are situated where we'll have, 1 week, 1 month, 3 month, and 6 months worth of data. Because we're doing a larger study, we have grouped our patients into different groups. So we should start seeing reported outcomes probably 3 months after first implant. So if we get started this month, we'll start to see data reported out probably fourth quarter of this year. I was hoping to be able to have something that we could present at the American Academy of Ophthalmology meeting, but I think that's going to be before we're at a point where we could actually report out. But it will be a fourth quarter of this year.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions? All right. Well, I guess in the absence of any more questions, we have a couple of minutes to sum up. So, on behalf of Numis, we're very much looking forward to coordinating an upcoming private placement for Ocumetics, which will be kind of the last chance to get some additional exposure if you already own the stock or get your first exposure to Ocumetics ahead of the human trial, which again is in just 20 odd days. So we do expect to be making an announcement on that in the near future, and everyone can stay tuned on that. And perhaps I can just pass it back to Dean to sum up.
Yeah, hey Brennan, thanks so much to Numis and its partners to give us a forum to actually share this information. I did not want to make this presentation a commercial. I did not want this presentation to infer that we're the biggest and we're the best. What I wanted this presentation to do is to just create some awareness that we are one of many players that are out there trying to come up with a better mousetrap for presbyopia and also for late stage or early stage cataract type procedures. I have benefited from the technology that we have had up to this particular point in time, which is a trifocal type technology. But I've also had to live through that painful process, and I know better because I've been with Alcon for 28 years, what that looks like. And so I'm really excited and happy that there's some other options available. And what I wanted to do was just to share with you an option that would be available for you and or your patients at some particular point in time. We're pretty happy about where we are because we have, if you understand the FDA pathway, we got through safety and we're now headed into first in human. And then coming out of that, of course, we have to submit that data to the FDA along with our IDE submission to get approval to do a multi-center clinical trial. So we are hitting all of our milestones. We're going down a path with a garden variety of technologies that are out there. And it's not my position right now to say that ours is better. My position is we are doing it different. And we believe that we have a great combination of partners who can make the lens and technology that will allow those patients to see really well. So I love these types of forums where we can create the awareness. And Brennan, I just want to thank you and your partners for allowing us to do that. So if there are no other questions, we can sign off. If anybody wants to reach out, I could be reached at dean.burns as at ocumetics.com. We just got another question, Brennan.
We do, yeah. So Dean, why Mexico and how many patients are you allowed to answer that second part of it? And are they all cataract patients?
Yeah, so let me answer the first part of it. There are probably seven major sites that you can go to do person-human type studies. So Panama, the DR, Costa Rica, Mexico, um, I'm forgetting one right now, but there are a number of sites that you can go to. We originally were going into the DR for our study. Jamaica is the other one. We were originally going into the DR for our study. And because of the regulatory environment in the DR, we had to make a pivot and a change to go somewhere else. And to do this in the time frame that we had allotted for our first in human study and to keep our timelines where they were, we had to find a regulatory body that we could actually work with to get the study done. So we talked to Jamaica, Panama, and Costa Rica. and Mexico, and Mexico City does a lot of these trials, and we were able to not only come up with one site, but we actually have two sites in Mexico that we can now go into. The second part of that is how many patients. So originally we wrote a protocol for 12 subjects. And the way the protocol was, or the study was set up, was one eye would be our target lens, the other eye would be the control. So monofocal in one, an accommodative lens in the other. We decided to expand that study so that not only could we do what is required, which is the one eye target, the second eye controlled, but we wanted to do binocular implants. And so, in order for us and FDA to feel really comfortable with this technology, we had to make it a larger study. So, it's costing Ocumetics more money to do it the way we're doing it, but it's the right thing to do. And the reason it's the right thing to do is we don't want to go into a multi-center clinical trial trying to figure out if you can put both of these, if you can put two of the Ocumetics lenses in a patient's eye and have them have really good binocular summation. We're going to learn that right up front. And so we've decided to expand the study. I think the protocol is up to 40 subjects, but we've broken it into groups. And we've got certain things that we're looking at by group, but the third group is where we do binocular summation. And we're looking at safety, refractive performance, and we're also looking at accommodative amplitude. So these are all cataract patients, by the way. So
Okay. Thanks, Dean. I don't believe we have any more questions. Oh, one more. How long is the operation?
it's the same time as it takes a surgeon to do the surgery today. So we didn't put an extra burden on learning or surgery with this technology. Certainly, there's going to be um, a learning, but to put the lens in the injector, it's the same training that we did with Alcon. So I'm surgically trained, and I train doctors on how to uh, uh, load the cartridge up, inject the cartridge, manipulate the car. It's all the same with this technology as it is with everything else that you are doing. Where the time actually gets extended is when you go to manage the patient back at the practice, because it is a study and we can't get around all the ISO requirements of all the tests that need to be done. So you end up spending a little bit more time with the patient back at the office. But in terms of the operating room, it's still the same. So if you're doing uh, a procedure every 30 minutes, you'll still be doing a procedure every 30 minutes. You'll just be inserting and implanting the Ocumetics lens.
Okay. This is some great information, and one more time, thank you to
Well, we
Can-Am
got
Physician
another
Recruitment. Oh,
we got another question.
okay.
Uh,
We'll have to make this the last one, but let's go ahead with it.
so for the first in human, uh, it is Mexican trained ophthalmologist doing the surgery. Our chief medical officer is Dr. Doyle Staltine, and Doyle's been working with the site. He'll be working with the doctors in terms of the surgery, but yes, they are all trained, and I can't say their name at this point in time because people on this telecast would know who these individuals are. So they're well trained. They do studies all the time, and they have actually been involved in some of the clinical studies for accommodative technologies, which is the other reason we selected Mexico over Panama, Costa Rica, and Jamaica. Uh, the DR and Mexico have actually done a lot of the implantations when it comes to the accommodative IOL. So we wanted to kind of stick with areas that knew the performance characteristics of this type of a lens so that they could, one, give us good input and feedback, but secondly, they could actually manage their patients a certain way because they've already had that experience with other technologies that were out there.
All right. Well, it's been some great information and certainly always learn a lot from you, Dean. So thank you very much. And to everyone who came to watch and everyone watching this after, have a look at Ocumetics. OTC.V is the stock ticker. Currently, we're gearing up to raise some money. So do reach out to myself or to Dean if you're interested in participating in that upcoming financing. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.